What about that no man's land, no person's land, that place where you've gotten to after you've been dieting for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 days, and then it's just rote. It's just general. There's nothing exciting happening. The poundage loss is nowhere near it was at the beginning, because that's how it's all structured. Once you start to change your dietary pattern, if you, let's say you're a gorger, you're consuming, you love the feeling of that distended stomach, hey, I'm right there. You're totally addicted to food. Hey, same deal. But let's say you get to that point where you want to change things, and then you start changing the things that you're eating. Maybe you've been eating all the processed carbs, the stuff from the pizza places, the stuff from the donut places, the stuff from the dessert places, and then just all the other stuff that's completely just nonsensical food, but it tastes wonderful. It's got a massively high bliss point. The bliss point is what the industries that make the truly addictive food talk about, and that's what they're trying to achieve to feed to all of us. And it's a wonderful mechanism, because we buy the food, we get fat, we develop disease early on, then we have to go to a doctor. The doctor typically doesn't say you need to stop eating that crap. Usually they just supply, they diagnose, and then they figure out a way that they can kind of make you a little bit better to allow you to continue to live your life and just, be you, be all about you. So then you go there, and then usually once you start to embark on the physician aspect of, because of the abuse of your body over time, and of course the food that they make, it's so highly palatable, so addictive. Yeah, there's a lot of blame that we want to shift over to the industries that are allowing it. Cigarettes were deemed not a problem until they figured out that they were, until through the attorneys and the research and the lawsuits, they were able to find all of the smoking guns buried deep in those closets at the different cigarette manufacturing companies. Well, those same cigarette manufacturing companies went out and bought the major food conglomerates, and they redid that food. So instead of making this typical cigarette as addictive as possible, getting caught, now they moved on to a different venue. See, you don't have to smoke cigarettes, but you do have to eat food at least at some point. In fact, if you don't, you die. So food is a much better business model for these companies that are trying to make that super high processed, overly engineered food that just spikes the hell out of our insulin and creates a lot of other tragic consequences for our internal markers as far as our bodies go, the way that we process this type of food. Now, the best thing to stick with would be meat, eggs, fish, and meat, eggs, fish, and eggs. That's it. Maybe some vegetables. Throw it in there. That's kind of what I find to be the best. But right now, we are watching as most of the people out there, they're looking at two different versions of how to strip off that body fat. One of them, of course, is going to be the caloric restriction model, and it doesn't seem over time that that's proven to actually work. Seems like the people that have embarked on that journey, and present company included, it seems like once we get down to a certain point, everything seems to stop. It seems like the body's very clever in adjusting its metabolism to say, well, this guy's going to cut 500 calories a day. He's going to go ahead and try to peel off a pound of fat a week. So you have 3,500 calories, based in a pound of fat. That's the going number apparently. And there's some argument on that, but we'll go ahead and stick to that. So if you have an intake of your dietary intake going below your metabolic burn, whatever you're burning in a 24-hour period. And there's ways to make determinations of that. Then you drop that down 500 calories. So your content changes. So you're taking in 500 calories less a day. You stack that over a week. After 7 days, that's 3,500 calories. You've dropped a pound of fat. Yeah, it's not exciting. What's really exciting is not eating for a few days and watching that drop. But don't do that until you talk to your doctor if you're ever going to do that. That's like super dopamine hit right there. That's fantastic, because if you've been eating a bunch of crap, and I'm not talking about eggs, meat, fish. What's the other one? Vegetables, eggs, meat. Yeah, you're not eating that, just like that stuff, without the ketchup, without all the condiments, without all the extras and the sides. Let's say you just switch to that, you're going to drop just a massive amount of water weight and inflammation and all sorts of stuff. That's going to come off really quick, and that's very exciting. That's if you switch from eating all the crap to eating those four things. Then, and you'll see a massive dump on the scale, and that's also very exciting, right? but it that carries its own addiction. That's why I did a video the other day talking about the scale. Scales are great, but they're more of a long-term friend, not a fair weather close-up friend. They'll fool you because that first 2 or 3 days you're very excited about it. You're like, oh my God, this is so great. I peeled off and let me be frank, or Connor, this is what's going to happen. I have been able to drop 20, 25 pounds after eating all the shit for so long and then dumping and not eating anything for 2 or 3 days. That's a massive amount of loss. That's not fat. Maybe 3/4 of a pound to a pound a day as my body's in adjustment. Maybe. Usually you don't get into that 3/4 of a pound or a pound for a few days, especially if you've been really abusing your body, eating all that horse shit, all that processed food. But what ends up happening is when you see that massive weight loss, you're like, woo, good to go. We're going to keep this up. But then there comes that quiet time, 7, 8, 10 days, where not eating for that time, but what you've done is you maybe started with a 1 or 2 day fast, all that water dropped, and then you're changing maybe to one meal a day, that type of cutting strategy, or maybe a couple different meals during the day strategy, and the meals are you're eating to drop fat. You're not eating for enjoyment. It's not great. Probably doesn't taste good. So you're eating because you're trying to achieve a goal. And depending on your willpower, how you structure it, how you think about it, you might be able to carry that on until you actually achieve that goal. But what I wanted to talk about in achieving of that goal is if you've never really done this or been able to hold on to it for a while, a lot of the time that boredom in there is going to resurrect a lot of the old habits. The old habits of running into drive-throughs and buying, 15 or 16 tacos with a two large curly fries and two large Oreo cookie milkshakes, and burning your mouth as you're trying to choke these down before your next appointment or next location, and then wondering why people that you walk into the room, they're kind of, hmm, what's that? What's that smell? Yeah, that would be me. That's that autopilot thing, or going autopilot to the refrigerator and just barreling down a whole bunch of food. That's that autopilot thing because we're good at talking to ourselves. We convince ourselves, 7 days, 22, 23 pounds because all that blood off was water and maybe 2 or 3 pounds of real fat. But hey, this is great. So then you break it. You cheat. You sabotage your own forward motion. And at that point, then you don't urinate for a while. At least that's my experience. I don't pee for a while. So, but I get real thirsty. So I start drinking a lot of water, and there's that 20 something pounds. And it takes 2 or 3 days, but it's right back. So here we are again. So we get to start over. How many times do you have to start over before it works? Great question. That's like how many licks does it take to get to the bottom of a Tootsie Roll Pop? How many times do you have to do it until it actually works? I don't know. With cigarettes and me, it must have been 1,000 times I tried to quit cigarettes. And then one time, nothing else was different, quit the same way. I didn't use any special strategy, didn't check into a hospital or get a part of some kind of Narcotics Anonymous. No. Nicotine Anonymous, do they have that? I don't know. But a cigarette smoking didn't do that. It's just that one time I tried it. The last time was indeed the last time, and it's been 10 years, 7, 20, yeah, 2000. So next year it'll be 10 years. Haven't touched a cigarette. So that's that one. Chewing tobacco, same. One day I just decided after 5 or 6 years of chewing tobacco, there was a lot of overlap there. Did some of that, some cigarettes and all that, because the nicotine thing was my thing. Just like now sugar and carbohydrates is my addiction that is just a toughie. But after I tried to quit, I mean, many, 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 many times chewing tobacco. Yeah, one time it worked. And then the diet thing back in 2021, I dropped off 135 pounds of fat, right? So that stuck pretty good for a while. And I played up to about 320, 325, 330, played around with that. Still 35 pounds away from my fattest. Yeah. And I'm still carrying a lot more muscle mass than yeah. Oh, sure. That's great. Keep fooling yourself. But the muscle mass, yeah, probably. I have to go with that because I was in a bulking phase. There's the other line. But recently, now I'm 279, so I stripped down from 330, excuse me, yeah, 330 to 279. So here I am now, and I'd like to get 250. See what that looks like. Last time I was 235, 240. I think I have more muscle. That was with a 33-inch waist. So anyway, all these calculations go on. You don't need to hear all that crap. But that's the goal. But right now I'm in that little interim, that little quiet time where any moment I could run out and buy a box of donuts or run out and buy some pizza or run out and buy some other nonsense. And I'm telling myself that, it's going to be okay because, I've gotten this far and it's okay to go out there because I deserve a break. I deserve moderation. You know what? I'm 57. I don't have time for moderation. I don't deserve it either. I don't deserve a cheat meal or a cheat day. I deserve nothing like that. You probably don't either, but you have to be honest with yourself. Everybody's going to tell you the people that are in your life that are feeding, they're feeders, they're the ones that enable somewhat. Now, trust me, unless they got you locked in a room and they got you tied and they're force feeding you food, it's not their fault. It's your fault. And the food industries and everything else can make this super highly addictive, ultra processed food all day long, and there's no consequences as of yet. But there were no consequences for cigarettes for a long time. Hell, they used to prescribe them for people that got a lung locked out because they thought smoking would strengthen the other one. Ooh, brilliant. Just take it all the way back to not washing your hands in the hospital, wondering why everybody's sick. You deliver a baby and go do this other thing with somebody else, cause a massive infection, and anyway, that's another story. It's that lull you have to pay attention to, that quiet time, the moment that you've been at it a while, the weight loss is slowed down, depending on what your formula is for weight loss. If it's caloric restriction, I would really tell you to maybe rethink that. Go do some research. Look at fasting, and I'm not talking 16/8. That's not helping anybody out. I mean, if you were eating, all day long, you were grazing like cattle in your kitchen or out in the world, then maybe you cut down to that 16 hours between meals might help you for a bit, but that's really not it. The secret sauce is multiple days, 24, 36, 42 hours, 1, 2, 3 days. That's like beautiful. But if you haven't done that before, that's a burden. But in that burden, you'll see a massive drop as well. But if you're taking meds, you need to talk to your doctor. If you're this tall or that tall or this big or this sex or this gender, this religion, whatever, you got to go talk to your doctor because I can't give you that advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, not a nutritionist. I just know my own experience and I know how addictive this crap is and how hard it is to break away from it. And it still eats me. Alcohol, yeah, I can walk up and down alcohol aisles. There's nothing attractive or exciting about it anymore. That took a while. That took, 3, 4 years to really get away from that. The cigarette thing, yeah, I still smell it. I can smell it really far away. A lot. It'll hit my nose a lot more than it will a non-smoker from distance. It doesn't piss me off. I'm not that person that, oh my God, you smoke. Oh my God, I quit that. Whatever. I'm not that way. But again, I smell it from a long distance, but nothing of that brings me into it. But the food is like some kind of a knee jerk autopilot reaction to boredom or stress or happiness or love or pain or anxiety or depression. You name it. It's all good. It's all good in the hood to go out there and start feeding above above where I need to be feeding. And also the type of food's a big deal. Look into all of that. Do your research on fasting, that caloric restriction thing. I mean, it sells a lot of books, and that's the thing they've been talking about for so long. And they say this is what works. I don't think it works. I don't think it works very well at all because your metabolism goes down. When you're not eating for a couple of days, your metabolism goes up. You like that little sound effect? It's mine. It goes up 10% from what some of the studies say. Plus, you also get that growth hormone release, so you're not going to burn off any muscle. That's another thing too. If you got muscle, well, even if you don't have muscle, everybody has muscle, but you need to start loving on your muscle. You need to start making your muscle work a little bit because you want to get more muscle if you can. I'm not talking on stage bodybuilder, all that muscle, but I'm talking about so you don't break a hip at 56 years, 57 years old by falling off the couch because you haven't done any kind of leg exercises and all your muscle went away because of taking one of these drugs that are going to help you lose weight. So be careful with all that too. Anyway, that's it. The lull, pay attention to it. It's going to get boring. It's going to suck, but you gotta just see where this is going. And that big weight loss at the beginning, all that comes back. all of it can come back. You can get right back up there. You can get back up there all the way where you were. And you know what? Then you got to do it again and again and again. Try to find the reason. Still haven't found the reason. I'm better in controlling whatever the reason is. And I'm not going to go sit down with people and start talking about it. I'm just going to move on. And I'm going to try to say, well, I feel better at this, and my feeling better at this, being able to put pants on and not have I carried a lot of Dunlap's disease, where my belly Dunlapped over my belt, Dunlap's disease, and maybe curing that, and maybe just dealing with the loose skin and just moving into the rest of my life and being able to wear pants instead of sweatpants and jeans. Yeah, I remember that. Anyway, it's coming. Do yourselves a favor. When you get into that lull, just stick it out. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 months, whatever it's going to be. I don't know how fat you are, but monitor the scale. And when you get on that scale at one time and it's up like, a pound or two, and you obeyed the way that you were eating or the fasting or whatever, just like God was watching, don't freak out. That's your body. Your body hates it. Body doesn't want to lose weight. Body wants to hold on to that stuff. It doesn't like it. Even with all the visceral fat, the body could care less. It wants more. So get rid of it, folks. I think it's time. And you don't deserve a cheat day. You can do this. Just find somebody close to you or do it yourself. If you got to wall yourself off to do it, do it. But you can do it. You just got to figure out when you want to start. And I know what you're going to say. It's Saturday. I'm going to wait till Monday. That's what you're going to say, because we all do that. It's time, because when you start at the moment, you get the hit. Even if in an hour you were supposed to go out to dinner with somebody very special, but you've decided the hour before to stop. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what your book is going to be based on. Maybe that's where that next next bestseller is going to be based on, that time that you were going to go out to dinner in an hour, but you decided an hour before to stop your nonsense and move into a world where you're going to just torch off that body fat and get healthy. Maybe that's your story. So when you're thinking of when to start, there's no time. And that directly corresponds with when you screw it up. When you go out there and you think you deserve a cheat meal, or somebody, Aunt Lulu is telling you, hey, you got to have these apple fritters I just made. And you do it. And right at that moment, when it hits your mouth, you're going to realize what you've done. And what you need to do is immediately stop and continue with your plan immediately. If you're waiting till Monday all the time to reset and restart, recalibrate and re-engineer and reinvent and research and reprogress, and there's a lot of re's here, but to continue, you've developed a habit that you now need to break. You need to sledgehammer that fucking thing so you can move on. All right, that's it. Sorry for the swear. We'll see you soon. Connor with Honor. Take care. Bye.